Well, at one point, since it was getting late, you just got to take it off TV because you can't get that last second stuff from it.
It's time for GrizzBeat, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
The Grindhouse was jumping last night. Welcome to 191 Beale Street, where it is time for GrizzBeat. And man, I'm still trying to wipe the sleep out of my eyes. I could not go to bed after that game last night. Talking to my wife, talking to my cousins, talking to my brother-in-law, everybody. We were on that game last night. Grizz, of course, got the win in overtime, the highest scoring game in the NBA this year. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch of other stuff today on GrizzBeat. Joining us here in studio, we have Matt Infield from WMC Action News 5. Matt is on the sidelines. He's got the camera. He's on the anchor desk doing everything there is to do. Matt, we're glad to have you back in here.
Appreciate it, man. I was not working last night. I said it's one of those games you kind of wish you were working because, I mean, it looked electric. But, yeah, what a game. Can't wait to talk about it.
And one person who was at the game last night, the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace, as my grandson calls it. You were on the call with Eric Hasseltine and on the radio, and it was like, man, it's like your tongue gets tied trying to come up with all the superlatives from that game last night.
Man, I was able to watch that, you know what I mean, from my perch in the arena last night, and it was, 151 to 148. I mean, it was a beautiful offensive display last night, man. The shot making was incredible. And what's even more incredible, man, Matt Infield comes in like it's 92 degrees outside, man. It's finally good. The sunshades,
I've been waiting for this,
the shorts,
man.
the T-shirt.
I've been waiting
You gotta
for
love
this.
this kind of weather. We've been waiting for it. We've been overdue for this for a long time.
Well,
Yes.
hopefully we'll get a chance to have more of this weather as the playoffs are around the corner for the Memphis Grizzlies, and we can be doing the Cupid Shuffle out on the plaza out here like we do in the playoffs. But let's talk a little bit about what the Grizzlies have done in the month of February. 6-4 in the month. Not great, not bad, but they are where they are. They're 38-20 on the season, ranked 14th in defensive rating, giving up 114.1. They were as high as third at one point, and had it been a trademark of Taylor Jenkins' teams here at Memphis, always playing really good defense. Ranked 19th in total assists, 237. They were as high as first. So you see there's been a kind of slippage there on offense and defense, and ranked 30th in opponents' second chance points. That has been a real problem, giving up 19.2 points in the month of February. And Tay himself had a little bit to say about what the Grizzlies have to do going forward this last few games of the season.
Spoke about the rotations. We'll figure that out as we go. I mean, there's definitely things that we're thinking about big picture, but we've got to live in day out, what's working for the group, at the moment. But, as we're thinking big picture, it all starts with our foundational principles, our 3 Ps that I've been saying all year long. That's what we came out of the break talking about. How do we reestablish our pace? How do we identify our advantage creators, the variety of ones that we have from, the pick and roll that we've been playing a little bit more, but also our cut, drive, fill, our screening actions. We've got to get better with our screening interactions for sure. So putting more work in that, which we've been doing the last couple of weeks, but now we get some practice time with that break in the schedule. And, possessions on the offensive side we've thrived in, but then it's flipping the coin, which I talked to the team about, like how are we better with our transition defense? That's the first P, pace on the defensive side. Our shifts have, been a struggle right now where we want to funnel, the ball. We've got to, shore that up and be more consistent. You saw it the other night. I mean, we have a glaring weakness in rebounding. And if that's going to be the demise of us, we can't accept that. We have to be better. We have to drill it better. We have to own it better. It's got to be 5 guys. So that's the stuff that I care about. We'll figure out nuances as we're getting to matchups and, do we add a little bit more to our package offensively or defensively? But we've got plenty of things in those 3 Ps, offensively and defensively, that are going to, determine a lot of our success.
Most of what I took out of that, the pace, offense, pace, defense, and Matt, it's been pretty obvious. The Grizzlies gave up a lot of second chance points. And I think some of that could be solved with bringing some of the guys back in. You want pace on offense, which means a lot of times the guys are taking off. They're not securing the rebound first.
Yeah, and they've been one of the better rebounding teams in the league most of the season. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The first OKC loss was in February, right? I mean, the season's long, but both of the losses that really stand out to me in February, OKC and Cleveland, the two best teams in the league right now, they got killed on the offensive glass. And that's an area where they've had an advantage the entire season. So I'm curious to see, is that something they can rectify against the best teams, or is that something those teams maybe have an edge over them going into the playoffs? So I want to see, we're going to get a couple more matchups with those teams. How does that play out?
Yeah, it does. And then when you talk about, February is a, and I asked Taylor about this too, it's a hard month to evaluate. Yeah. Because, you have that 2 week or week-long break in between. You got guys gearing up for All-Star Weekend, guys coming back from vacation. The conditioning wanes a little bit from that standpoint. But what we've seen is a sample of some of the Achilles heels that have haunted the Grizzlies all season long. Rebounding, particularly keeping opponents off the board, has been a problem. Turnovers have been a problem. Those are things that you can't just keep dismissing. You got 25 games left, and that's why Taylor went to the lengths that he did to explain these are things we have to lock in on if we want to reach the level that we need to reach.
I think some of it is integrating the guys that have been hurt back into the lineup now. They're getting a lot more minutes, and they got to, ramp up their speed. But also, I kind of like in the new offense that the Grizzlies are running with the pace and all that, to kind of like the spread offense in football. Usually you run the spread in football when you got a great quarterback and receivers, but you can't really run the ball. And sometimes when you get down close to the goal line, if you can't run it, you're in trouble. Now, that's where the pick and roll he was talking about comes in. If they can reestablish that pick and roll that works so well, Steven Adams, I know Steven Adams not here, but the big kid, Zach Edey, is learning and is getting a little bit better at some things. If they can get that rolling, that would definitely help. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've seen a healthy dose, too, of a little bit of Ja, Brandon Clark pick and roll as well, which is something that we know could be effective. Ja, one of the best lob throwers in the league. When
BC's got the bounce back.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. He looks really good in that regard. So, yeah, Taylor's talked about diversifying the offense. The first part of the season was about getting down this new system, but they know that the bread and butter of the past couple of offenses has been that high pick and roll job, and they're going to have to use that, especially when the game slows down in the playoffs.
And one of the other things that they're going to have to work on, too, is tightening up that rotation. And we saw that now. We're seeing them based on the minutes, and particularly in the second half, you're seeing him not play 11 anymore. He's playing 10, but 2 of those 10 are not getting extended minutes. So it's really 8 primary guys that he's gone to. And we're seeing now that primary 8 outside of the starters, and Zach Edey's not even in that at detail, and it's more Brandon Clark, Santi Aldama, and Luke Kennard. So those are the primary 3 coming off the bench. Vince Williams has to earn it. G.G. Jackson has to earn it. And you're seeing those guys around the core guys in Ja, Dez, and Jaren when it's time to roll. So that's another thing that they're working on, too.
You're talking about, Vince has got to earn it. That's because the freshman, the rookie, Jalen Wells,
is
playing.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed up big last night, with the threes that he hit. He's also got, he's pretty tough inside. He's not just a stand in the corner and shoot the ball guy. Yeah. He will take it to the rack. And, to have that kind of guy out there, it just makes the team better overall. But I wouldn't worry about Vince. Vince can shoot. He hit a couple of threes out of the corner last night. He still plays really good defense, and they're ramping up his minutes as they go. I still think the main part of that, though, is transitioning from go offense to, all right, now it's the game slowed down. This last stretch run, we're going to see a lot of teams that are playoff teams, and it will slow down, and we need to see more the pick and roll, whether it's either Ja and BC or Ja and Zach or Ja and even Jaren. We haven't seen Ja and Jaren because Jaren's more of a driver. When he gets the ball out at the top of the key, he's more putting it on the floor and going to the glass. How do you see that kind of working out?
That's one thing and Taylor would tell you he's not going to accept that the thing's got to slow down. He's going to continue to say, you know what, they have to play to our pace. Yeah. Why do we have to slow down? Let's keep speeding them up. But that puts a lot of pressure on your guys to always be at that conditioning peak to be able to run teams. And I think the Grizzlies did sort of wear Phoenix down towards the end. I thought it was critical that they lost Booker and the Grizzlies lost Jaren Jackson Jr.
Right.
The Grizzlies could accommodate that loss. The Suns couldn't because they needed another primary ball handler and playmaker. But just the fact that Hey, the game is going to slow down, Jarvis. You and I, all of us have been around NBA basketball to know that you can wish what you want.
Right.
It does slow down in the playoffs.
Down,
But if you can continue to play at a pace and at a precision, you can sort of make teams uncomfortable and have to catch up to you more so than often.
And, having somebody that's in charge and you know who's got to be out there and run the show. Jaren has been great all season. He is the team's leading scorer, averaging more than 23 points a game. Unfortunately, he fouled out last night, but he was 11 of 13. But you saw when it came down to it in crunch time,
call 12.
You got to call 12. And one of the national media who actually was going to come to play at Memphis in college when he was Kendrick Perkins was going to play for John Calipari, but decided against it at the last second. He is now a broadcaster and does a really good job. And he says the Grizzlies got to have that alpha dog, and that alpha dog wears the number 1-2 on his chest. Here's Perk.
Getting to the Memphis Grizzlies, if you're trying to be a legit title contender,
right.
If you're trying to go match up with Denver, if you're trying to go toe-to-toe with Oklahoma City, Jaren Jackson Jr. can't be your best player in a 7-game series. John Morant needs to be that guy. And John Morant, honestly, hasn't been that guy all season long. One could argue that Austin Reeves, and I say this respectfully, Austin Reeves has had more of a productive season this year than John Morant. If you don't believe me, go look at the numbers.
The way they play sort of an egalitarian offense.
Wendy, no, man. Listen, look.
That's the first time egalitarian offense has been used,
Wendy,
I think,
that's
on
cool in the regular season. But you know as well as I know, the superstars are going to take you home. John Morant is a superstar. He needs to be the best player on that team in order for the Memphis Grizzlies to get where they're trying to go.
Well, one reason you can create a pathway for both of these teams to make deep playoff runs is that they play with deep rosters. Donovan Mitchell averaging the fewest minutes he's had in his career. John Morant's minutes under 30 a game. Part of the reason why their numbers aren't as impressive as in recent years is because they ask less of them to save them for the backstretch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And let's take a look at the Western Conference graphic right now to see where exactly the Grizzlies stand and how this could play out with who you need to be the boss, and that'll pay the cost down the stretch. Of course, Oklahoma City's running away with it right now. They're at 46-11. The Grizz and the Nuggets are all tied up, 38-20 for second place in the standings, and they're 1-1 against each other. So they'll have another matchup with the Nuggets coming up here pretty soon. The Lakers, sneaky good. They're, I think, 7-2 since the trade, bringing Luka into Los Angeles. They've won like 15-4 or something or other like that. They're on the hot streak. The Rockets finally got a win, but they have been fading fast at 36-22. That's still a very dangerous team. The Clippers, that's the one team that the Grizzlies are kind of scared about. If you see them in that roster that they have, that really makes you kind of spooky there. And of course, Dallas, we'll see. I don't know about the injuries, but we'll see. And Jimmy Butler's really doing something in San Francisco. The streets of San Francisco are coming back alive. Then the T-Wolves and the Kings, and the other ones are on the outside looking in. Don't know if Phoenix will be able to overtake Sacramento, but there's plenty enough time down the end of this season to see. And this takes us to our new feature here. Well, I guess 2 weeks old now, 3 weeks old. The 24-second shot clock validation. That is, what do we think about what they said? And here's the question. Kendrick Perkins said John Morant has got to be the main man for the Grizzlies, the best player if the Grizzlies are going to do what we all here in Memphis and a lot of fans around the world would like to see the Grizzlies do, and that's hoist that championship and have a parade on Beale Street. I guess you can put 24 seconds on the clock for me, and I'll start this off. 24 seconds, CJ, if they got it. There it is, and go. I do believe that John Morant has to be the man. Tripp does what Tripp does, but Ja is the straw that stirs the Grizzlies' drink. Tripp is great on that drive to the basket, but he is not the guy that commands the floor and see who's open over here. Like Jalen Wells on that great last pass at the end of overtime, that dunk to basically secure the Grizzlies' victory. John Morant is the straw that stirs the drink for the Grizz. Matt Infield, what up with you? What do you say?
All right, 24-second clock for me or not? Let's see. Either way, I'll try to go real quick. Either way, I think Ja has to be. We got 20 seconds. All right, I can work well under pressure. I think Ja has to be the offensive engine for sure. I think there's an argument Jaren could be the best all-around two-way player when you think about what he does defensively. But we've seen, and we saw it last night, what that dude does, Ja Morant, in the clutch, tight late-game situations. There's arguably no one better in the league right now. So he's got to be the offensive engine for sure.
are. There we go. Michael Wallace, the great Michael Wallace, the guru. Your 24-second starts now.
Bottom line is this. The Grizzlies wouldn't have been in that position had it not been for Jaren Jackson Jr. dominating the first 3 quarters of that game. He got in foul trouble. It's great to have Ja as the closer. I don't think that this needs to be an either-or scenario. One is not as effective without the other. It's simple as that. But Ja Morant has to have his fingerprint on controlling the game from start to finish, and we saw how good of a finisher he is. Call 12, the Grizzlies will be just fine.
All right, look, we got to have a little bit more discussion on that. Michael Wallace, I'm going with you. Yes, Jaren Jackson, 11 of 13, right? Is that what he was from the floor? Great player. I love what he's doing. He might get Defensive Player of the Year now that Wemby's out with the shoulder embolism or whatever that is. Tough break for Wemby, but Jaren is definitely deserving in that role if it does come that way. But I think that he is more one-dimensional. Well, not one-dimensional because he can score and rebound, but Ja does everything. Ja even got a couple of clutch rebounds last night, and his defense is better. And that's one thing that he has upped his game, I think, this year over his first 4 years in the league, and the fact that, defense is not just a suggestion for him. We've seen him actually guard up people, belly up some folks and get some steals and have some people miss shots when he's on him. But the main thing is the fact that he is running the show. Jaren, you put the ball in his hands, he's going to the bucket. Ja, you don't know what he's going to do. He may go to the bucket. He may make that pass. He may, flip the ball back out and start the offense. That's the only reason I'm saying.
Yeah, I remember something that Kenny Smith said a couple years ago that really stood out to me about there were certain players that just set a specific pace that is unique to them. He was talking that night about Steph Curry, I believe. But I think Ja Morant definitely falls in that bucket as well. I think in the playoffs, we're talking about when the game slows down, well, that's a guy that can create his own pace, whether the game is slowed down or whether he wants to hit the gas pedal and go as well. So, like I said, I think that, to your point, they both need to dominate if this team is going to reach the heights they want to reach.
Correct.
Jaren can be the best two-way player on the floor, but I think that if the Grizzlies are going to reach those heights, I think we're probably going to look at it and say Ja Morant was the star of the show because he was initiating the offense, because he was putting pressure on the defense, getting downhill and in the open floor. But one does not work without the other in terms of playoff setting, at least. No,
and you guys are both right. And that's why, it's interesting that dynamic has to be said, right? They play 2 different ways. They play 2 different styles. That would be a great conversation with Luka and LeBron. Yeah. It used to be a great conversation with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, right? It was a great conversation with Kyrie and KD, or Steph and KD.
Oh, it was that way when Kyrie and LeBron were in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, they had to kind of take turns where Jaren, for him to be effective, he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands. He can control a game in different ways because of his defense, right? So the thing about it is that the bottom line is Ja has to be engaged. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the most balanced player that we have on the roster. He's the most durable player we have on the roster this year, and he's the most, in terms of, he's the most reliable.
Yeah,
and if without him being reliable, I don't know where the Grizzlies are right now. And that's the main thing. That's why I say Jaren has to. Ja can do what he does, but Jaren has to continue to be at the center of this attack for the Grizzlies to have that kind of balance that they need to get to where they got to go.
Yeah,
Ja will put us over the top, but Jaren will put us in the conversation.
And let's not forget about Deuce either. I mean, I know that obviously Jaren's played at a borderline MVP level this year, and we know what Ja's capable of. But if the Grizzlies, again, are going to reach the peak they want to reach, Desmond Bane is going to be a big part of that.
Well, that's the reason why they got so many guys on the roster that can play now, because Santi's come up. Absolutely. I think he's got to be in more conversation for 6-man now,
or most improved player, something like that.
Or one of those, don't you think? Because
he's got to. I mean, he certainly has. The last couple of weeks, it's kind of been up and down, but he's been a microcosm of the Grizzlies overall, right? This stretch that we just talked about, they're 6-4. It took overtime for them to avoid a 5-5 February for the most part. But Santi is one of those guys that when he's on, the Grizzlies can be special. You know what I mean? So they're right there. They're definitely right there. And, again, this is the start of a 5-game homestand, and we got a chance to see them continue to do some big things throughout the rest of this stretch.
And coming up on this stretch, coming up Friday night, the New York Knickerbockers come to Memphis, and they'll bring their whole entourage of New York media and all that stuff. It's always a circus when the Knicks come to town. They entered the week tied for the NBA's best road record, at 12-4 since Thanksgiving. They're ranked 5th in the NBA in scoring, almost 118 points a game, 5th in three-point percentage, and 3rd in field goal percentage, right at field, just under 50%. Now, they've won 3 straight against the Grizzlies, and that's a tough thing to swallow right there, including, that thumping, drubbing that they put on the Grizzle back in Madison Square Garden on January 27th. I don't even want to mention the score, but getting Cat on that team, Karl Anthony Towns, we talked about a player putting somebody over the top. As much as you can be over the top with Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City, the Knicks really made a great move in bringing Cat to town.
Full disclosure, as you guys probably know, that is my lifelong team, so we'll just get that out of the way right now.
He's from Long Island.
The frustrating thing is the Cat move was awesome, and once again, the front Leon Rose, it feels like every move he's made the last couple of years has worked out. It's also frustrating because it feels like they are hard capped at the 4th best team in the league because every time they play Cleveland, Boston, or OKC, they just get drubbed. So
0 for 7.
0 for 7 against them this year. So, I just wonder what the ceiling is. They're really good, and I think them and the Grizzlies are probably at the same tier to me, kind of the same level teams, even though the Knicks beat up on them last month. But, I just don't know what it's going to take for them to get over that hump.
Yeah, just keep playing, right? Keep playing, and I think they're going to get Mitchell Robinson back, pretty soon. So they'll have another big to go to and improve that defense, right?
Yep.
But they control tempo, they control pace, except for against those 3 teams. As your point was made a second ago, the Grizzlies are in the same boat, right? The Grizzlies have that 3-team Achilles heel too when it's the OKC Thunder, the Houston Rockets, and the Los Angeles Lakers, so to speak, right? So those are 3 teams that get under the Grizzlies, and they just can't figure out a way to shake them. But in order to get to that next level, you have to be able to beat at least one of those teams.
Absolutely.
You might not have to go through all 3 if you're the Knicks, but you got to figure out, okay, how good are we going to be, and what is it about these teams that we just can't match up with? I think it's more psychological than it is physical because we've seen the Knicks. Like, we saw them against the Grizzlies a month ago, and they just looked like they were world beaters.
They did.
It's a weird thing right now with them. I think that last year they were this tough, defensive-minded, we're going to kill you on the offensive glass team. Now you get Towns, you get Bridges in there who should be that two-way player, but now they're kind of, and I hate to say it, they're kind of like a juiced-up version of what the Pacers were last season, where they're going to run up and down and put up a bunch of points on you. So far, that defensive identity that we're used to seeing from Tom Thibodeau-led teams hasn't really been there. Curious to see what it looks like when they get Mitchell Robinson back, because they haven't had him in the interior the entire season. I correct myself.
I got that subliminal.
Hey, once the Knicks get in your blood, they stay in your blood.
It's been in my blood for way too long, and not a lot of good in there for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, the 12-4 on the road scares me, but I'm thinking that the Grindhouse is going to be rocking on Friday. It's a Friday night game. You got the Knicks in town. Everybody knows who the Knicks are. Yeah. Everybody knows what happened, and these people are going to be rabid here when New York comes to town. And speaking of rabid, we got a rabid dog behind the glass in CJ. That's because it's time for our Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. CJ, take it away.
Now it's time for the good stuff, Jarvis. It's time for the Grizzlies Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week.
Hit it.
Be sure to have your question ready, because BLJ is lurking in these streets, and he's lurking with tremendous prizes like $5 gift cards to Sonic, where you can get that chili cheese fry combo, baby. Woo! He'll come up to you, ask you for a question. You'll get to be on GrizzBeat, which is awesome.
Yep.
But what's really awesome is that $5 gift card, Mike Wallace. Woo!
He ain't eligible.
BLJ! Hit us with the question, baby.
Yo, it's your best hype man, the NBA BLJ. Man, oh man, I got Daniel right here. Daniel looks like he can play football, basketball, or whatever sport he wants to play. You can ask the same question that your son had. What's that question?
Who do you think is going to step up after the All-Star break?
What player do you think is going to step up after All-Star break? But guess what? You said Edie. Son, what you got?
Edie.
He says Edie too. Family, what you got?
JJ.
He's trying to get his superhero cape together. But guys, we'll see you guys later on. Back to the studio. Can I get a Go Grizz on 3? 1, 2, 3. Go Grizz!
All right, we got a couple of different answers there. Zach, boy, it'd be great if Zach Edey could step up in that spot. What do you think, Matt Infield?
I'm going to go with someone else at that position who we've seen kind of step up a little bit. I don't know if step up is the right word, but Brandon Clark kind of like inserted himself into that closing lineup. Man, he is so good switching on other teams' offensive players. Crunch time, late game situations. Think about the way he clamped Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, the defense he played on Paolo Banchero in Orlando the other night, which led to the Jaren Jackson Jr. game-stealing block. Listen, you said it before. His legs are back under him. He's confident in his body again. we know what he could do, and I think in a playoff-type setting especially, he could be huge for them down the stretch.
You know what? That's a great pick because he's going to definitely be in the playoff rotation because of what he brings in late game defensive switching opportunities right there. I've also seen it's time for Santi Aldama.
Yeah.
Right? He's been great all season long in sort of his role. You know, he was good as a starter. He was good coming off the bench. Now that the Grizzlies are fully healthy, he still has to continue to be an impact player. His three-point shooting and floor spacing is essential. Kevin Durant said, look, man, how do we leave this guy open for that crucial three that cut it from a 4-point lead to a 1-point deficit and allowed the Grizzlies to get back into that overtime and win it? And that's the guy right there. Santi Aldama is one of the you scout for Ja, you scout for Jaren, you scout for Dez, and you may figure out, okay, BC, when he's in the game, they're going to be, you know, able to switch on everything or they can stay home. But Santi is the one guy that's the wild card that you just don't know what you're going to get. And he has an opportunity over these last, you know, 2 dozen games to really step up in a significant way to carry this team through the playoffs.
X factor, would you say?
X factor for sure.
What you got to hope is, you know, he's up and down a little bit. There's a contract year for him. You know, people are saying, "Oh, I'm afraid of people in but he has been playing up and down, but his ups have been really up.
That's what I'm saying.
If he can get more consistently on the up mode, the sky's the limit for the Grizzlies because you got that outlet there, and he can bust those threes at 7 feet. And also, we've seen him go down in the paint and guard some people and get a couple of block shots and some rebounds.
Well, he was leading the team in rebounding for 2/3 of the season until Zach Edey took over.
Right.
And Santi was.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's good for him. And they're going to need him to be more of that. More so than anything else, but the 3-point shooting and the rebounding is going to be key.
He's a freaky little athlete too. He probably doesn't get enough credit for that. I mean, he can jump.
Well, Slim Spain is starting to come up and live up to, you know, he's got a lot of the Grizzlies fans love Spanish players, right? We had the
100%.
brothers Gasol in here doing their thing, and now Slim Spain is coming on. What we got to do though right now is take a break on GrizzBeat. When we come back, we're going to go around the NBA, and we may have a little bit something extra for you. Just stick around. We'll have it for you coming up after the break.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GBWR.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals takes it straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Are you aware of the story of Larry Brown and John Calipari coming to see you at an AAU tournament?
I knew Coach Calipari was in the crowd. I had this incredible game. I had maybe 17 dunks in the first half or something. One of my guys was like, "Yeah, I think Coach Calipari was speaking with one of the NBA scouts, and they're saying, yeah, you're not gonna go to college, bro. You're going straight to the league." I was like, "That's the plan, but if I don't, I definitely want to go to Memphis," and that's how I went down.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Made by Grizz fans for Grizz fans, 191 Collabs presented by Hennessy continues celebrating Memphis designers and showcasing our city's unique voice and vibe through hyper-local Grizz gear. Shop the next collection of Unapologetic on this Friday, February 28th, when the Grizzlies take on the New York Knicks. This limited edition collection only available in FedEx Forum on game night. So buy your tickets today For access, you can go to Ticketmaster.com or visit Grizzlies.com/191collabs for more information.
Welcome back to GrizzBeat. We're going to catch up with Grizzlies forward Lamar Stevens in a few minutes. But before we do that, we want to jump around the league really quickly with all the great storylines and all the compelling things going on in the NBA. And it starts, obviously, out there in La La Land with the Los Angeles Lakers are doing some remarkable things with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. I think LeBron already found the fountain of youth, but he found an even another dose of that youth since Luka Doncic has come over. And J.J. Redick talked about the impact that LeBron's professionalism and his basically the way that he's able to stay young is infusing this team with the energy that is needed during this remarkable stretch.
As a staff, we're talking before the game, not sure going to sleep last night if he's playing today and, getting word this afternoon that he was in. It's like, man, he really just defies anything that's normal, and not just the physical feats and the plays. It's the mentality. He is, again, I believe I saw the other day, he's a billionaire. And he's playing on the second night of a back-to-back at 40 after 22 years with every frickin' record and every accolade. And the kids will say that I'm glazing him. He's one of the greatest competitors. And Nate and I were talking about before the game. It's like, he's amazing to coach. He brings it every single day. Like he sets the standard for how you're supposed to approach this craft. And that's, to me, the most incredible thing. It's just the mindset to do it, get up the next day, do it, get up the next day, do it, over and over and over again.
All right, they're very, very excited to have the way LeBron is playing right now is just the fountain of youth, as Michael Wallace has said, has brought him back to life or renewed his life or given him more life. Giving more life to the Grizzlies, though, we've got a guy that came in last year and really helped when things looked bleak. Well, they didn't really end up that great, but they looked a whole lot better when he came in. Lamar Stevens rejoins the Grizzlies. You're on a 10-day right now, halfway through it, but yes, you came in last year and you really showed the toughness. I didn't even know Penn State was that good at basketball. You went to Penn State and you played, and you came in here to Memphis. And I think at the club you were on before, they said, man, you guys are getting a good one because they know your work ethic and all of that. Yeah. And you are back to bring some of that toughness. Yes, anytime you got the guy with the mustache and barely growing, or the beard like that, you're a tough man. Tell us a little bit about being back here in Memphis.
Oh, I'm super excited to be back. I really enjoyed my time here. We had a great group of guys. Coach Jenkins, he's a great coach, and he really believes in, the type of player that I am and like that physicality and that just being able to muck up the game. So it's definitely a blessing to be back.
So tell me now, when you're getting on the court, are you getting ready to throw some bows out there and get some of these people? Look, man, we got to get on the boards. How tall are you? 6'5"?
No, I'm a 6'7". 6'7".
6'7". Okay,
yes,
6'7", dude. You come out there and you're rebounding against guys 6'9". You averaged 11 and 5 last year.
Yes, sir.
Here in your stint at the end of the season with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
You did not mind mixing it up.
No.
That's what this team needs to do. How would you help in that situation?
I think that's just what I bring. I think that's just kind of my super talent, being able to be physical, being able to get those rebounds, and just like get loose balls and just those 50-50 plays. Everybody's not going to be the superstar. You got to own into your role, and I think that's mine. And just trying to fill in the gaps for the guys, and rebounding, that's a will thing, and I think that that's just something I'm ready to do and come in ready to impact.
Lamar, welcome back, man.
Thank you.
Obviously, you played really well at the end of last season on a team that had a million injuries. You had to create for your own a lot of the time. Were you surprised, because I'll tell you I was, that no NBA team gave you an extended look this season coming off of the way you performed at the end of last year?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. Definitely surprised. My agent was surprised as well. But, I really believe that everything happens for a reason. Going down to the G League, I never played in the G League before, so that was an adjustment for me. But just being able to get those reps of just shooting the ball and getting confident with just shooting and playing every single night, I feel like I was just able to just be confident with that, because I feel like that was something in my game that I wanted to grow with. And then just becoming an overall better basketball player, being there, and the character that the G League builds, I think it's just made me appreciate being up top that much more and appreciate all the little things.
Lamar, when as you can already tell, man, Jarvis is not just a Hall of Fame legend
man,
broadcaster
I'm a fan,
here. He's an MVP season ticket holder, and he's got the biggest man crush on you since last year, man. He talked about you every single week on our show last week when you was last year when you was with us, man. So he's got tremendous love for you. I wanted to sort of ask you about the character and just the professionalism, man. Like, your reputation spoke for itself, and a lot of players think it's all about talent and all about measurables and skills.
Yeah.
But what can't be measured is someone's heart and the way someone shows up to work every single day. And when you came back, I saw how the locker room just galvanized around you, man. They was like, you were like a long lost brother to them. How important is that to you, just to be a good person, first and foremost, and show that the character means just as much as the game?
I mean, I think that's my biggest passion, being able to give back to others. I think, as much as I love basketball, I think, helping somebody else succeed and win gives me a little bit more fulfilling feeling for myself. So, they're just a great group of guys, and, I think that they were able to feel that how much, I cared about everybody's success and the team's success, and it's bigger than me. So, however I can impact winning and impact this group and help guys get to where they want to go, I think that'll be beneficial for all of us.
Lamar, when God laid out the city of Memphis, right? With all the streets out there and everything, it must have known that you would be coming, because there's already a street named after you here.
Oh, is
am I lying? Lamar Avenue. Runs a long way, baby. Runs a long way. You're on the 10-day now. What are your perspectives for hanging with the club or getting another look? Or would you like to just stay here and run it on out with Memphis?
Oh, yeah, I would love to stay here and just run it out. Right now, I think it's just a period of, the offense is a lot different than last year, and even the defense. So right now I'm just trying to learn everything, so when I do get my opportunity, I could go out and be, vocal and, make sure I know what I'm talking about, and kind of just lead the charge of what, they've already built, and help be a part of that, and just be who I am and just be able to do that stuff with confidence.
Did you have a favorite? Excuse me, real quick. Did you have a favorite moment last year when you were playing here in Memphis?
My favorite moment might have been when we beat the Bucks. I think that was on ESPN, and that was a really fun game to play in. Yeah,
that's when I wore the headband.
Yeah,
and everything. I was like, oh, I like this cat. This is Lamar Stevens doing something. You're doing it.
Yeah, that was right before the All-Star break too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. Lamar, what is it about? Obviously, the organization wanted to give you another shot, but you talked about some of the development stuff and the culture. What is it about the way that the franchise operates on a day-to-day basis that maybe sticks out from other organizations in the league?
Yeah, I would say it's the attention to detail from top to bottom. For guys that aren't playing even so as much, like, they have a plan for their growth, and I just feel like everybody gets better. And I think sometimes when guys play, they kind of get forgot about. But I just don't feel that here, and I feel like everybody's important, and everybody's going to have a time where you might get called, and they really focus on that preparation for when you get that moment.
One thing we've seen that when you came in, you talked about ingraining yourself into the offense here.
Yes, sir.
That mid-range game that you had around that elbow area, you were knocking that down.
Yeah.
You took a couple of threes.
Lamar,
get back down there. What have they told you about? Because like you said, the offense has changed.
Yeah.
What have they told you about where you need to go?
They honestly, like, right now I'm just learning the principles, like, because it's just so
Ps?
different. Yeah, the 3 Ps of the offense. But, when I go out there, I'm just going to play and be confident. I don't think I was as confident as my shot from 3 as I am now. But I think it's just important to go out and just be yourself. I don't think, you can't play this game trying to be somebody else. So I'm going to go out and be myself, but I don't know how much they love that mid-range as much.
Well, if you got it.
Yeah, but if you're making it, if you're making it, though,
they all count,
you're not
man.
going to complain.
It's better have
sure.
2 than not have 2.
Yeah,
I'd
for
say.
sure. So, but, I'm just going to try to fit in as best as I can, try to make things easy for Ja and Dez and Tripp, and just impact winning however I can.
You can see we have a little bit here on the video of what we saw out of Lamar Stevens last year. It was a year when everybody and his brother was hurt. Everybody was out. We all say call 12, but they were calling 24.
There's the three. There you go. There's the three.
Yeah, you weren't bashful about taking that one. And, when the fans see you out there, of course, I'm a fanboy. Like I said, I'm a season ticket holder. But just your game there, that little shot right there is what hey, this dude ain't afraid to take it, and he's going to take it, and he's going to make it. Absolutely. And that's the kind of confidence we like to see in guys coming in here playing with the Grizzlies.
Lamar, I've got two quick ones. One kind of funny, then a more serious one about your game.
Okay.
The amount of teammates you had last year, how many do you think you could name?
I think I could probably name most of them.
Really?
I think
that was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of teammates. I think I maybe 20 plus.
Isn't that crazy? A lot of
guys. It was a lot of guys.
Have you ever seen a situation like that at any level of basketball?
No, that was insane. That was insane. That was some bad luck or something going on. But that was crazy. But it was cool. I got to develop some good relationships with a lot of people that are all over the world right now.
Well, the last thing I wanted to say, when you came in and played your game, how did the fans react to you, and how were your fans in Memphis? How did they? How did you feel? Did you feel the love from the Grizz fans?
Absolutely. I think this is because I was in Cleveland for 3 years, and I played maybe 20 games here last year, and the love is very close. Yeah, in terms of the attention and the support that I've seen from Grizzlies fans, which is huge because, comparing to somewhere I was for 3 years. But, the love is definitely there for sure.
All right, well, that's Lamar Stevens. We appreciate you. Got another question?
He had one.
He's
been waiting, man. I've been trying to get Jarvis won't pass the ball, man.
Jarvis is your biggest fan. I'll let Jarvis do his thing.
No.
Jarvis can be the volume shooter. He's the Hall of Famer.
You got the last one, and then Jarvis wrap it up.
For sure. So I'm a Northeast guy. So I actually remember watching you a little bit at Penn State. I loved your game there.
Yeah.
But despite that, like you said, you've kind of had to grind for every opportunity in the NBA. Even when you performed last year, you didn't get an extended look until February this year. Yeah. How would you just put in the words your underdog mentality and the resilience you have time and time again to keep fighting for these opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I think every time I'm challenged, I think it's just it's an opportunity for me to grow. And I just try to, look at that, whatever I'm going through, and just know if I get through this, it's light at the end of the tunnel. So, my family supported me, my girls support, it just keeps me going. And I think just the belief to overcome all the things I've been through just drives me to be who I am today.
Put some respect on Penn State basketball, Jarwell. Come on, man.
Nittany Lion. We'll talk about the Nittany Lions whenever Lamar Stevens hits the court. Like I said, you got a street named after a street. Right, got a street named after here in Memphis. Hey, let me hear you say it.
A street?
There you go. Lamar Avenue. We got Lamar Stevens himself. Hopefully that 10-day will get extended, and hopefully we can see you on here and through the playoffs. We really appreciate you.
No doubt. I appreciate you, my man. Good to see you guys.
All right, let's Lamar Stevens, everybody. Grizz favorite, my favorite, and hopefully, that toughness we will see work out as the Grizzlies keep going. And we will keep going on GrizzBeat. One more segment to come after the break. Lamar Stevens, we salute you, sir. We'll be back in just a minute.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping.
It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support. When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3, yes sir! Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
At the National Civil Rights Museum, history moves us forward. The question remains, how does history move you?
Keep on talking, marching up to freedom now.
Shinedown, Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
We did get a new shoe that dropped today that we should all be able to get if we want it.
Fire.
And it's been one people have been waiting for a long, long time.
Yep.
Asia Wilson. What do you guys think about the shoe?
I love it.
It looks great. We see people wearing Jaws. We see a lot of people wearing the GT line, but then also we see a lot of NBA players wearing the Sabrinas.
Sabrina, yeah.
I bet you there's gonna be a lot of NBA players wearing that.
I agree with you on that.
Oh yeah.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on Grind City Media on X, YouTube, and the official Grind City Media mobile app.
Fans, become an MVP season ticket member and be a part of every jaw-dropping, towel-waving moment of the Grizzlies' 25th season right here in Memphis. Choose your get it straight now, 2025-26 season ticket plan. That's today. Do it today and get personalized MVP benefits and MVP event access. Plus, when you place your deposit, you'll receive exclusive pre-sale access for 2025 playoff tickets. Visit grizzlies.com/season tickets or call 901-888-HOOP. That's 901-888-HOOP and become a Grizzlies MVP today. All right, now it's time to go to the power poll presented by Michael Wallace, the guru of Grind City Media. This is his poll, and we are going to look at it, and we're going to tell you what it says. Now, we're all in cahoots on this. We're all in this together here. The Thunder, of course, at 46-11, followed by the Cavs. They have the best record now at 48-10. Then it's the Celtics. The Pacers have jumped all the way up to number 4. The Nuggets staying pat, 38-20 at number 5. Then it's the Knicks, Lakers, and Michael Wallace has dropped the Grizzlies down to number 8. Could it be that 6-4 February? And then the Warriors and the Rockets are in 10th this week. The Rockets are on a little bit of a slide right there. Looking at that poll, guys, what do you think? Well, Michael Wallace, it's your poll.
Well,
what do you say?
I'll start off, and just as a little bit of an update, the Nuggets did beat the Pacers the other night, so the Nuggets actually should jump to 4 ahead of the Pacers. The Pacers will fall back to 5. And, the Knicks have been sliding a little bit. The Lakers have been ascending, and the Grizzlies, frankly, have been sliding. They had lost 4 of 6 before last night's win over the Phoenix Suns. So, that's going to be reflective of that. The Warriors are one of the hottest teams in the league right now, as are the Lakers. And then the Rockets are just kind of meandering right there. So when you look at the Western Conference standings, you see the Grizzlies are a game ahead. Really, there's only one game separating 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5 is separated by one game in the loss column for the most part. So, it's a lot of work still left to do, man. But it's bunching up pretty. It's bunching up pretty significantly between 4 and 10 every single week.
You look at the Celtics at 42-16, the Grizzlies 38-20, and that's a group of like 3 or 4 teams right in that level. Do you think the Celtics are that much better than that next group of teams, Matt Infield?
Yeah, as a New Yorker and a Boston sports hater, I hate to say it, but I still think as good as the Cavs have been this year, and they're absolutely a championship contender and a real finals contender, if you gave me money, I would still put it on Boston, come out of the East. And frankly, Boston and OKC are pretty neck and neck to me because OKC is really impressive. But I think that we saw what they did last year. They've got that entire core of guys back healthy again. Yeah, the Celtics, even if they're not the top team in the East record-wise, to me, I think have to be considered a tier or 2 above the Grizzlies right now. I think that's fair.
And here's the issue, though. The issue is that, Cleveland isn't getting the kind of respect that OKC is getting.
That's fair.
And here's the thing. OKC didn't get, they both got to the same round last year. They both brought back their whole rosters for the most part this year, for the most part. And OKC added, Hartenstein and Caruso.
Yeah.
And they both have identical kind of records. But we tend to be more believers in what we see out of OKC than what we tend to believe out of Cleveland.
Do you think
and that's kind of funny because they both beat each other, so they're split from that standpoint.
Do you think it's OKC being the 1 seed last year? You're right. You're right. They both went to the same round.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Minnesota was the 1 seed last
year.
year.
The 2 seed, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So again, Cleveland was a top 4 seed as well too. The resumes look a lot more similar, but the perspective and what we actually
you're not
think
wrong.
is completely different. To me, it wouldn't surprise me if neither one of those teams ended up in the NBA Finals.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I could see OKC getting beat because they hadn't been to the Western Conference Finals
Memphis.
Like a,
yet. You know?
Memphis.
And I can certainly see Cleveland tripping up somewhere along the lines to a Knicks or maybe a Boston.
Yeah,
So-
Boston Nuggets finals is certainly like very
It's
realistic. for
very
example.
realistic.
Yeah.
Or Boston, LA, if LA keeps doing
Yeah.
this. But it's funny how, the two teams have been dominant in the East and the West all season, and then this is where it is.
Well, the thing about Cleveland is, after they played the Grizzlies in that game that the Grizzlies could have won up in Cleveland, they've been drilling people. They drilled their
Well, they were
last
drilling
two-
people before then.
Yeah,
They
so-
won 35. What are they? 40. They have 47 wins. 35 of them have come by double figures.
And I don't think it's because they are big, strong. They're not like the Rockets where they just
No.
beat you up.
Yeah.
And they're just they're long, lanky, and they're quick. They're quick to the ball. And then Donovan Mitchell can go on a heater, and the guard Darius Garland is also really good. He didn't play against the Grizzlies in that matchup. We'll probably see him when they come to Memphis here in a little bit. But they don't. It's not like they scare you when they just win, and somehow they end up beating you.
Oh, they can really shoot.
They can really shoot.
They can really shoot. They're the way they move the ball.
Physically, I'm saying they don't really scare.
But the way they create looks when they've got their own twin towers with Allen and Mobley on the floor is
Right.
really impressive.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting coaching philosophy where former Grizzlies coach JB Bickerstaff obviously let go.
Mm-hmm.
We see what he's doing in Detroit this season. It feels like he's the kind of coach that can raise a floor of a team and get them more competent. But Kenny Atkinson has obviously taken that team to another level this year. Easy coach of the year, in my opinion, at least.
And where was he last year? Where was he the last few years? Golden State.
Yep.
Golden
he
State.
talks about
Wow.
how he learned so much, and he's applying sort of the selflessness of a coach that Steve Kerr has sort of been, and he's applying those kind of principles to Cleveland. But you're right; they're not imposing. I think
Right.
that's the word you're looking for.
Right, that's what I was
OKC is a little more physically imposing, particularly the way they defend.
Mm-hmm.
But Cleveland has just as much depth. They have just as many shooters coming off the bench. And come
That
on,
Ty
man.
Jerome,
Ty
man.
Jerome
Make
just
me mad.
completely,
That dude.
But yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think getting Slim back for OKC, Chet, you think getting him back is going to do anything to really put them over the top in this? Because he's not really a physical player, but he can block shots and he can shoot from deep.
He's kind of Grizzlies fans will hate to hear me say it, but I've said it before. There are really a lot of similarities between the way OKC and the Grizzlies have built. You've got your star young point guard, you've got your perimeter scorer, Desmond Bane, J-Dub for them, and then you've got kind of the versatile two-way big, Jaren obviously for the Grizzlies, Chet Holmgren for OKC. That was kind of the most impressive thing about what OKC did to the Grizzlies here a couple weeks ago. They did it without Chet Holmgren on the second night of a back-to-back, which kind of tells you how good they are.
Right, no question about it, man. I totally agree. I'm looking forward to what's coming up ahead, though, for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, there's some really, really good games coming up here, and it's a 5-game homestand. Game number 2 of that 5-game homestand coming up here, coming up Friday night with the New York Knicks in town, and they have got some great players themselves. The guard play is excellent. And, of course, Cat has really taken them to another level after the trade from Minnesota. Why they did that, I don't know, because I thought they really had
money.
Something going. Yeah, I guess so. You would think they wouldn't be a poverty franchise, though. That's a big market in Minneapolis. But they the Grizzlies are going to face that coming up here with Jaren, because he, if he gets either all MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, that would trigger the Supermax for him. But I don't see the Grizzlies not re-signing. San Antonio coming in, they will be minus Wemby. Tough luck for the Spurs, but they are putting something together after they're making that trade with Sacramento to bring in De'Aaron Fox. And then Atlanta's the only team that's beaten they beat the Cavs, and then did they beat the Celtics or who was that they beat? They beat 2 of the top teams in the league, and they're kind of like middling in the Eastern Conference. But with Trey and that group coming in here, always fun to play the Hawks, and hopefully that's not one that you stub your toe against, because you would think looking at the Grizzlies they could take down Atlanta.
Well, those 2 games, Saturday and Monday, are 2 games that could potentially benefit the Spurs. Obviously, I think the Spurs are looking ahead to next season now that Wemby's out for the rest of this year. It's scary to think, what if they end up with Cooper Flagg, which would be wild, or if they end up with a top 5 pick in general. They also own the Hawks pick this year. I forgot what the protections are, but in theory, the Hawks losing is also beneficial for the Spurs as well. But yeah, I think that it goes without saying. The Knicks game is the barometer game on that stretch. That's where we talk about how do they match up with some of the elite teams in the league. Like I said before, the Knicks look to be hard capped as the 4th best team in the league. still a really good team, and it's going to be a really good test for the Grizzlies. And I think they're going to be out for a little bit of revenge after the way the Knicks, frankly, embarrassed them at MSG a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you talked about barometer. Talking about barometers for players. We had Lamar Stevens in here, who's known as a tough guy. One of the toughest guys to ever put on a Grizzlies uniform. TA, and he's got his night coming up here next month when his jersey will be raised to the rafters. Tony Allen will be commemorated for his work with the Memphis Grizzlies as part of the Core Four, and a little bit of a preview of what you can expect from that night from the great staff here at Grind City Media. And just watch this video. I'm ready to see it.
Tony Allen, the grandfather, Mr. First Team himself.
How would you describe Tony Allen?
To be honest, there's a very few people in the league that I know that are real dudes. It's not many. And I know one when I see one, and he's one of them.
I wanted it to be known that I'm the best defender in the league.
Allen takes the ball away from him.
Tony Allen is the toughest defender I've ever had to go against.
You gotta love how this guy works relentlessly to battle one of the elite scorers in the NBA.
He is a disruptor out there.
We all know that when he would match up with you, you're in for a long night.
The true competitive nature, people like that, it comes from the environment that you grow up in.
Not a lot of people walked a mile in Tony's shoes.
Chicago is gonna test you. I was a product of my environment, let's just say that.
All I hear is bullets flying past my head.
My life could have been taken from me at the age of 16.
There was no one better in terms of playing with toughness. He fit in real well.
The Boston Celtics select Tony Allen.
I just saw how hard he worked. I was like, damn.
And I'm a champion right now.
We blew it. He should have never been a Grizzly.
It's just our heart. Grit, grind.
Who he was who the Grizzlies were.
I think coming to Memphis, I kind of found a home. I'm going to go all the way out for what I'm riding with.
First team all defense.
And what I'm riding with is the Grizz.
Chills. I have chills from seeing that. Michael Blevins, of course, puts out great videos for the Memphis Grizzlies, and there's a longer version of that you will see on the night that TA gets his jersey lifted to the rafters. And you came here from New York, and you also were up in Green Bay for a while, so you got to cover Chicago area sports in Milwaukee with the Bucks and everything. Yep. Seeing Tony Allen on the court, you got to see him a little bit there at the end of his career? Here in Memphis?
I mean, I never covered TA, but I certainly remember TA. And, I mean, he just gave dudes hell. Like, the best players in the league, night in and night out. And the thing that stands out to me is when I moved here is he's from Chicago. Man, that dude is as Memphis as it gets, though. And, like, it transformed him. And that's going to be, like, this place on that night when he gets his jersey retired is going to be a madhouse. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. And real quick, man, before we get out of here, like, my first experience with covering this franchise was covering that TA and Zach Randolph and what they meant to the city.
Right.
And that's how I understood how Memphis was such a special NBA market, was because that what we just saw resonates with people. Mm-hmm. And I get goosebumps just watching it, because you see all of the legends and multiple Hall of Famers speaking on this guy.
And Kobe Bryant saying the best defender
that he's ever faced, man. And that tells you all. The movie, the full-length video is going to premiere here next week. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be on our Grind City Media YouTube channel. And then the Jersey Retirement Night is a couple weeks after that, man. It's going to be fantastic.
We're all looking forward to it. It's going to be great to see Tony Allen's number 9, first team all defense, raised to the rafters along with Mark Gasol and Zach Randolph. It could be a great night here at FedEx Forum. Of course, a great week coming up ahead, 5-game homestand. The second game of the 5-game coming up on Friday night against the New York Knicks. We will be back next week right here. First, we got to thank Matt Infield from Action News 5 for joining us. Thank you, Matt. And, of course, the guru of Grind City Media himself, Michael Wallace. Thank you, sir, for all the great work you do in putting this format together and everything. But we want to see your face in the place Friday night, and we want to see you back here with us next Wednesday, 2 o'clock on on Grind City Media for another edition of GrizzBeat. Hopefully we will be undefeated coming back. We will see you, and you'll see Lamar Stevens play. I'm looking forward to it. I got to get my headband. Where is it? We'll see you guys later. Where's my headband? I need a headband.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.